Well, we're so excited to be here this morning as a group and for all of you as well. If you are a nurse, you're in the right place. Just a little bit about us. Care for Nurses is a community created to provide you with support, advice, and a safe place to talk about ongoing challenges with other nurses going through the same things you are. So we're glad that you're here. We're glad that you're listening. If you couldn't catch us live, we have a lot of different ways for you all to engage. We have some online discussions in the special closed platform, regular video calls or meetings each week. We have articles, blogs, and then our new podcast videos that we're doing today. So those will be coming out as well. Today I have Deb and Kira. They're going to be talking about compassion fatigue. So I'm very excited to kind of hop into that conversation. A little bit of housekeeping though. We're aiming to keep today's session about 15 to 20 minutes because it's brand new. So we kind of want to get in the feel of the time frame that works for you all. So we're going to follow up with some Q&A. If you have any questions, put them in the chat. Mike, who's also on here with us, will be moderating and keeping track of those. And we'll do our best to get to any questions that we have. So we'd love to go ahead and get started. I'm going to pass this over to Deb and Kira and get started. Hey, ladies.
Hey, good morning. It's still morning here in West Virginia, so nice to see you all. I'm Deb Kupez. Just 10 seconds of background. I was a nurse practitioner most of my career, also on the nursing faculty of a few universities. And these past few years since COVID, I've mostly been doing nursing in a more consulting role. And today, as Elizabeth said, we're going to talk about compassion fatigue, something I know I've experienced no matter what nursing role I was in. So, Kira?
Definitely. Hi, I'm Kira. I also have a background in psychology, but I'm your content coordinator, and I'm here to help facilitate conversations and articles and blogs about anything that you guys want to talk about, anything that's on your mind. We're here to talk about it so that you have a safe place to express your feelings and to relate to anybody else going through the same thing.
Okay. Well, let's get started then. What I'd like to do, compassion fatigue may be a term that's familiar to some of you. So I'll start with a bit of a more formal definition. Compassion fatigue is an emotional and physical exhaustion that stems from prolonged exposure to the pain and suffering of patients. You all may think this sounds familiar. I think of it in more general terms. It's just getting to the point where you're either exhausted, angry, resentful, numb to the fact that your patients are not only patients in the rest of the world are making demands on you. You know, as nurses, our patients can be demanding no matter what setting you're in. But sometimes you leave work and you go out to your family, to your friends, to the clerk in the store, and it seems like somebody says you're a nurse and they want something from you. So that can get you. We all were drawn to this profession because we have compassion, but you can get to the point where you just feel like you can't take another sad story. You can't take another person that needs you personally to do something for you. So you may have a lot of compassion, but we're going to talk today what to do when in your work setting or in your personal life, you're to the point where you feel like you're not giving as much compassion as you should. One of the worst reactions I think can happen, and I know this has happened to me, besides anger and mad fatigue, sometimes you just get numb. You get numb to the fact that people need something from you. And I worry because when you get to that point, you may overlook some of the important things your patient's telling you, important symptoms you should be seeing. So also just that numbness of, I don't care anymore. I'm just going to show up and do my job. I'm not going to put my all into it without even realizing it. So I'm not sure if anybody in our participants has felt that or wants to put something in the chat room, but that's kind of the starting point of what we're going to talk about today.
I'm sure that plenty of people have felt that. I mean, when I think about it, even, I have felt that plenty of times. I'm sure we all have at some point, and it's interesting when I think about nurses in particular, having to show the same level of compassion for each new patient that comes in, right? Like you could be with a patient who is dying of cancer and you're helping their whole family work with such a heavy topic. And then your next patient is somebody who has like, a fracture in their pinky or something. And you're expected to have the same level of compassion with them because that patient just walks in for this new experience. They expect you to care, So I can totally relate to that. I can have compassion here and relate to how hard it must be to muster up the same level of compassion for every single patient that comes in. I think this is a really helpful topic that you're talking about.
Yeah, and I think the other thing with compassion fatigue, maybe you feel it only with work, only with your patients, and you don't realize when you leave the work setting and you go home, you're irritable, you're snappy, you don't want your kid to ask you for one more cereal bar, and for no reason, they, and of course, you're kind of snapping at your family, and they don't see that as, gee, mom worked hard all day taking care of patients, or as my husband likes to say, never marry a nurse because they have lots of compassion for patients, but not so much for husbands. So you have to kind of balance, where is your compassion going, and is that fatigue at work from taking care of people affecting your home life? I think especially during COVID, COVID is kind of behind us, although it's kind of rearing its head again. During that time, it had to be extremely difficult because all of us were pushed for longer hours, more patient, all the extra isolation efforts that can get you to the point where you feel like you just can't do it anymore.
Absolutely. And just the exposure alone, not just the fatigue of it, but just the desensitization of it, because even if it's at a high level that would normally elicit a huge amount of compassion, if you see it over and over and over and over again, you're going to, just by the desensitization, react to it less. But still, your patients, or like you're talking about the other people in your life, they still want you to care about every single thing they're going through just as much as you cared about the last one. That's a hard thing to balance.
So I'm sorry. What are some things that how could the nurses, whether it's in their home life or in the work setting, what are some things that we can pick up on, whether it's ourselves or others, that might be showing signs of some compassion fatigue?
You want to start off, Kira?
Sure, yeah. First of all, if you're in a high stress environment, there's going to be compassion fatigue just because, like I was talking about, the desensitization. So that's going to happen. And then the person might start showing signs of irritability. Like you were talking about, like, don't ask me for one more thing, I'm done with this. Like somebody who's normally very kind and caring and patient suddenly starts looking like they have like a shorter fuse. That's definitely something to look for. And then there's the final level after irritability, like you were talking about, I don't care anymore. So you get the zombie level. And if you see people walking around, either really angry or looking like zombies who normally are very kind, you could definitely, pull them aside and talk to them about, hey, I think you've got some compassion fatigue here. Let's talk about ways that we can work on this, and one of the biggest ways to do that is take some time out, take a rest, stop and just breathe and just, remind yourself why you're there. Also make sure you're getting good sleep at night. I've kind of transitioned into what you can do. We can talk more about the signs if you want. We can talk about.
No. I was just going to keep going. I'm ready to add when you're done. So yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So another thing is setting boundaries and knowing when to say no, so that you're not taking on so much extra work that it does make you resentful and angry. Like, I could be home taking care of my family, but I'm doing this even though I shouldn't be, so that's something that we'll be actually talking about in another podcast, setting boundaries, saying no without feeling bad. But other things that you can do, make sure you're getting good rest at night. Because I know all of us, when we are tired and not getting good sleep, right, we're not going to be our most compassionate selves. We're going to be grumpy. We're going to be more impatient. Excuse me. But those are definitely some of the things that we can do. You want to take some more?
Well, one of the things I always found that helped me is really, seeking some support, especially from my coworkers. I mean, most of us as nurses tend to be a little on the social side. We have at least one good friend, good nurse, somebody you can turn to and talk to. So if you feel like you're getting to the point where you're just not nice to patients, you're mad at people, sometimes pulling your friend aside to say, look, I can't take it anymore. How are you doing things? And just relying on that as a support group. I mean, what we're offering here on our podcast and through our blogs is even another place you can turn for support. So having somebody to share the burden with, and sometimes just, at least in my case, I know I have one. We're distant right now, but if I have to call her and tell her I had a bad day at work, it's like we'd seen each other yesterday. There's usually someone you can rely on to understand you. And if you don't, start to think about what of your friends might do that. Maybe it's your whole unit. Maybe everybody you work with needs a timeout, needs a coffee break or something, just to say, let's talk about how exhausted we are from taking care of these patients. And let's just let that out of our system. That alone is kind of relieving a bit of a burden. So don't think you have to go it alone.
Absolutely. That's what we're doing here, right? Yeah.
Right.
And I think for me, I can get caught up a lot in, okay, I survived today. I did all the steps I needed to do. I took my breath. I took a walk. I called my friend. I'm okay today. But then tomorrow I'll happen to it. And sometimes I find myself in the same rut of being burned out and still not recognizing it, that, yeah, okay, I took care of it yesterday, but today is a new day, and today I might need to take care of it again. So recognizing that it can continue happening, and we have to have that mindset every single day to give ourselves permission to feel that, to recognize it, and then to address it every day. Because sometimes, nurses are caretakers. And so they're like, hey, we got to get it done. And they get in the mindset of just getting it done, right? And checking the boxes. So I know for me, I have to remind myself and give myself permission every single day.
Yeah, that's such a good point, because if you do let it build up, it builds up so quickly. Mm-hmm. But if you do take care of it every day, just like keeping your room tidy. I talk to, my kids about that. Like, if you just take care of it, a little bit every day, it doesn't build up, and that's such a good point. The daily maintenance will definitely help anybody avoid this.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yes, Mike.
Hey guys, so I have a question. For people that may not be used to asking for help or sharing, I'm one of these people. Like, I don't naturally call my friend to vent. So to me, it's like what you guys, it sounds like you're saying is that just saying it, I'm feeling overwhelmed, I'm feeling fatigued, I'm feeling numb, is going to help me.
Well, you're almost segueing into something I was going to say.
Okay.
If you're not a person that tends to share or have a person, sometimes something as simple as a little bit of, meditation, taking a break, giving yourself time to say, okay, I need 5 minutes to myself, turn off the electronics, put your dog in the cage, sit there somewhere quiet and just say, I deserve this time. It doesn't have to be a formal meditation practice, but you've got to prioritize yourself, do some self-care by just stepping back and being alone sometimes. That's another good way to say, this is how I can keep going. Maybe, think about, why am I a nurse? Why did I do this? Or just let your mind go blank and say, I just need 5 or 10 minutes to do nothing and just stop and think. So that might help people that tend to not be venters or oversharers type people. So.
Yeah. And also just taking care of yourself so that your mood is stabilized. Make sure that you have fun things in your life that you like to do. so that you're not feeling like my whole life is work, 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 give, give, give. Everybody wants something from me. You carve out a piece that's just for you, doing what you like to do, and keep it balanced, as well as, again, good sleep so that you're not, so moody. Eat good foods so that you're not so moody, but finding a group even just to listen to like this, if you don't want to talk about it, of course we're here. We always tell people we don't insist that you participate, like talking and everything. You can also just listen, and you can also just read articles that might be on subjects that you could use any kind of guidance on if you don't want to outwardly, share your thoughts.
Have you all ever listened to some of the, social media is everywhere. You can't get away from it. All the TikTok videos, all the things. And some of my favorite influencers, I can relate to them. I look at them and I say, oh my gosh, I'm not alone. Like, I feel that way, and they normalize it for me. And I think that's what you're saying, is if you hear that other people are feeling that way, that they have the same similar struggles or thoughts or concerns, just recognizing you're not alone, I think is critical. One of the things, and I jotted down a note because I heard one of you say something that triggered this thought. What about the nurse who can recognize they're in a state of compassion fatigue or burnout, which I know that's a later topic. Maybe they've even verbalized it to people, right? In hopes that other people can recognize that they're also in burnout, but nothing is changing, right? They're still feeling like they're in this, what I call the hamster wheel. Okay, I recognize that I'm struggling. I verbalized to my spouse or to my kids or to my employer or my coworkers that I'm struggling, but nothing is changing. And I know that's a huge, we're not going to be able to answer that question in this next couple of minutes, but I wanted to put that out there because I do believe that there are many people that feel that.
Get into overwhelm too.
Right. And I want to put that out there into the universe because I want people to know that can be a very normal feeling and something that I know that we're going to continue talking about, right?
Yeah. And one of the things too, just to quickly address that, is boundary setting. If nothing is changing, it's because you're allowing things to stay the same, right? So if you take control of your life and set those boundaries and say, I'm going to have this time for me. I'm going to have this time to do what I want to do, and try to organize your life and your schedule in a way that actually works for you instead of just plows you over. That's definitely a way to make things change. So then you learn to say no. If you're saying nothing is changing, that means you might need work on saying no and setting boundaries. It is hard. And that's why that's also coming up. We'll do a discussion on that. And we have blogs on that, articles. It's definitely not the easiest, especially when you're dealing with nurses who are so caring. Anybody who's so caring, who wants to say yes, 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 and wants to make everybody happy because they're givers. Sometimes you have to say no because you deserve to be given to also, right? Give yourself a time.
The other thing I wanted to add to Kara's comments was, especially when she said you have to change, it could be very incremental changes. I remember when I was a new mom, a busy nurse, I had a long commute, everything was rushed. My only reprieve was when I'd stop at our post office. My infant was asleep in the car seat, and I'd have 4 or 5 minutes to go in, get my mail, and read my mail alone. That was it. That was 4 or 5 minutes. I knew I had total quiet, but that little bit I looked forward to. Okay, this is my time. Nobody's asked, no patients here, no husbands here, the baby's not crying. I carved out that 4 or 5 minutes of getting my mail to be my sacred time. So maybe you only have 5 minutes. Maybe you only have 10 minutes. Maybe you can get away from everything for 30 minutes. But whatever you do, remind yourself, I'm taking this time for me, whether I listen to music, whether I listen to a podcast, whether you log on to Care for Nurses. Give yourself just a little bit of change every day, and that might grow and grow until you feel a little better.
Absolutely. And exercise too. If you can fit exercise in that time, that's just going to make you feel physically better. you'll look better, so you'll feel better about yourself. You'll have more confidence. Confidence goes a long way in being able to set boundaries and say no. It all goes hand in hand.
Yeah. So yeah, good.
Hey, real quick,
yeah,
we had a comment. I hope she doesn't mind we read it. Jane said, when I worked as a hospice nurse, I had a social worker who told me you have to get your own oxygen so you continue to help others.
Yes.
Great. That's a great way to look at this. Yeah, it really is. You do. You know, we as nurses we're trained to take care of others, but if you don't take care of yourself first, that's going to affect all those dominoes in the life of the other people you're caring for. So thank you for that comment, Jane.
Yes, thank you. She's referencing the airplane when they
yes. Put your
travel with my kids. They always stop and say, put your oxygen mask on first.
Yes.
On theirs. And I'm thinking, you know what? As a mom, I'm not sure that I would actually do that. But
well, it sounds selfish, and it's not. It's really not. It's you got to take care. You got to take care of the caregiver. So
yeah, very great. Very
but
great.
It's like pouring from an empty cup too. You can't give if you're empty. So you've got to first fill yourself, and then you'll have more to give others.
Yeah.
Oh wow, this 20 minutes literally flew by.
It's over already? Wow.
Yeah. Any other questions or comments from our audience?
I think we've had some fabulous, some comments. Absolutely. One of the things I was going to say to kind of wrap this up is, first of all, thank you for this great conversation. This is something I can already tell I'm going to look forward to. We'll be posting our next go live in the platform. If you know a nurse who could really benefit from this community, reach out to them. Let them know this resource is there for them. Encourage them to get involved. And the more of you all in this community having conversations, the better. I'm also going to leave with this. If you have any suggestions or comments, whether it's constructive or, you know, something that's super, hey, that really resonated with me, or, you know what, you want to add to it, you know, like some of our commenters did today, we want to hear from you. The more we hear from you, the more we can engage into the conversation, but also provide additional support resources for you surrounding those topics or concerns or thoughts. So a couple ways you can do that. Of course, you're always welcome to join a Go Live and engage here with us real time. You can certainly log into the system and start your own discussion. Maybe you have a question or thought. You can comment on somebody else's discussion. There's a section where we ask for topic requests. You can do that. But you can also email us at team@carefornurses.com. So maybe you're a little uncertain about posting something. We get that, right? So you can certainly send it directly to us at our email address because we do want to hear from you all. But thank you again for being with us today. If you couldn't join us today and you're listening to this after it's been posted as a recording, we're so glad that you did and that you took the time to share with us. So we look forward to our next Go Live coming up.
Don't forget about the live groups. You wanted to.
Yes, and the live groups. Yeah, that's right. That is another way to get plugged in. We do have weekly live groups that are available to you. They're in your section on the left nav bar in the platform. If you click RSVP, it will show you the link on where to go, and you can even add it to your calendar. It's a drop-in, right? If you can only come to one and you can only come for 15 minutes, that is totally fine. So come as you are, come when you can, and we look forward to seeing you all there.
Right.
So.
They're Monday and Thursday evening. So yeah.
Yes. And the days and times are on your in the platform on the
homepage. Yeah. Okay.
All right, y'all. Thank you so much. This was amazing. We look forward to the next one, and we look forward to get some guests on here too. So we'll see you.
All right. Thank you. Bye.
Bye, guys.